Hi friends, welcome back. I'm Irina, I'm a visual artist, and today we're going to draw this beautiful flowy fish together using my iPad Pro and Procreate. This tutorial is designed so anyone can follow it, whether you're almost a beginner or already comfortable with digital drawing. So grab your pencil, relax, and let's make something gorgeous. This is the canvas size and color profile I'll be using, and we'll start super simple. Let's draw a small circle, then a second one, and a third. Place them roughly the way I'm positioning mine, and if you need to adjust anything, just use the selection tool to move or resize them. Here I'm sketching with white on a black background because I like the strong contrast, but feel free to use any sketch color that works for you. For my pencil, I'm using my recycled paper brush at a really small size, though literally any fine sketching brush will work. Now connect the top circles with a short line and then draw the shape of the tail, something loose and organic. Add two tiny triangles and two small fins. Don't worry about being really precise right now, this is just a sketch, and fish naturally have these soft flowing shapes. You can think of this as your roadmap, not the final drawing. Lower the opacity of your sketch layer, then create a new layer underneath it. If your background isn't black already, switch it now. Pick this orange color from the palette, which, by the way, you can download for free. The link is in the video description, and I'll also show you on screen exactly which color and brush I'm using at all times. As I draw the main shape of the fish, notice that I will not be following the sketch exactly. I'm just using it as a general guide. Take your time, erase when you need to, and really don't stress about perfection. The fish is supposed to feel like it's moving, so little mistakes, believe it or not, actually make it look better. When the shape feels right to you, go ahead and fill it with color. Now, create a new layer and place it just above the background. Choose the first color in the palette and draw the left fin. Then create another layer above the body layer to draw the right fin, the one that's closer to us. Here's the logic. Anything that's closer to the viewer should sit higher in the layer panel. I really hope this sounds logic to you. Now, I think I'll be using the eraser to correct the shape a little. It seems about right. Next, I will lower the sketch opacity even more. And now, lock your color layers by using alpha lock. Just swipe two fingers to the right on the layer. This keeps your strokes inside the existing shapes, so you don't have to worry about coloring outside the edges. One of the absolute joy of digital drawing. Now, I'll grab my trusty recycled paper brush and switch to black. I'm adding light textures and creating transparency in the fins and tail. My brush pack is linked in the video description as well, and yes, I promise it's worth it. If you don't have it, use an airbrush instead. You'll get a similar shading effect, just without my signature texture. With a brush at around 30 to 35%, start adding shadows, focusing especially on the outer part of the tails and fins. It's important to mention that I'm using very soft strokes because gentle pressure really matters here. Then switch to a darker orange to build up texture and volume along the body. Now, pick this beautiful red and start working on the head area. And yes, in case you're wondering, I am using a reference photo because I definitely don't know fish anatomy well enough to draw it from memory. Well, after editing this video, I almost feel like I could though. The reference is linked below too. Remember, I'm not trying to recreate the reference photo perfectly. I exaggerate shapes, shift colors, and make artistic choices to create a more dynamic illustration. Always use the reference as inspiration, not as a strict blueprint. And do the same with this tutorial. Take the parts that help you and feel free to change everything else. Now I'm loosely sketching in some scales, nothing too detailed yet. I just realized that I'm using hand gestures a lot in this video. I'm using them all the time actually. So this is a perfect moment to show you my gesture settings. Tap the wrench icon in the top left corner, go to Prefs, then Gesture Controls. You can customize this however you like, but here are the ones I personally use all the time. Touch for quick layer selection, and touch and hold for the eyedropper tool. This lets me pick color just by holding a finger on the screen. Then I'll quickly scroll through the rest so you can see my full setup. Back to the drawing. Let's start building the eye. I'm using black with the same recycled paper brush, keeping my strokes very light. Then switch to a deep red and add subtle details around the face and body. And again, you can absolutely follow along even if you don't have my brush bag. I must be honest and say that it won't look just the same because I did work a lot to create this brush texture, but Procreate has some great pencil style brushes, especially after the late update, so just choose something with a little texture and it will work perfectly. The key here is patience and light strokes. You're not pushing the color, you're gently layering it in. That's what gives the fish this soft dimensional look. Now, this next step will instantly elevate this illustration. Seriously, it changes the vibe fast. Pick this bright light blue and start painting thin glowing edges around the tail and fins. See how I'm making these tiny close together lines and how my hand is wiggling between them. It's a great habit, especially if you're like me at the beginning of my career, drawing with a locked, stiff hand, and yes, it hurts. Add the blue highlight on the head and body as well. Look at the difference already. The contrast with orange is gorgeous. And here's a color tip. For an orange body, use blue highlights. For a red body, use green. For a yellow body, use purple. Always pick the complementary opposite and you'll get the magical glow. At this point, we don't need the sketch anymore, so go ahead and delete it. Then, choose this purplish gray and draw the lower part of the face, or chin. I keep wanting to call it a face. Do fish really have faces? I think they absolutely do, even if that sounds strange to other people. So yes, from now on we'll call it a face. Now switch between white and a darker gray to give this area some volume. Now choose a warm yellow and add little highlights across the body, especially on the scales. Move to the tail and fins and start drawing a series of thin parallel lines to emphasize transparency and texture. These lines don't need to be perfect. They just need to feel directional and natural. Now, let's add some texture, quickly and effectively. That's my favorite way of working. Grab my dotty texture brush from the free sparkle brush set. The link is also in the video description. If you don't have it, you should totally get it. It's free and honestly really good. I could have sold it, but I really wanted to give something back to you, my amazing community. Start adding dark orange and red texture on top of your fish. This brush basically does the work for you. The strokes don't need to be precise. Then shrink the brush size, switch to yellow and sprinkle in some smaller highlights for volume. I'm also adding soft purple and baby blue accents on top of the blue highlights. It creates this beautiful iridescent effect. The lower fin look quite flat right now, so let's fix that. With the same dotty brush, add texture using light blue and gray on the lower parts and red on the areas closer to the body. Now that I'm rewatching this video trying to record a voiceover, I keep thinking that maybe I'm drawing a little bit too fast and it's not so easy for you to follow along. I'm so sorry, this is my actual drawing speed. I'm a fast drawer. And even though I want to remember to draw slowly for the tutorials, I keep getting lost in the drawing process and forget I'm filming. What you can do to make it better is just decrease the speed, the video speed, from the YouTube video player. It will probably make me sound even weirder, but that's something you'll have to live with. Now, I'll go back to the recycled paper brush and draw some thin brown lines to create depth, shadows, and movement. You can absolutely stop here if you want, but I like high impact texture, you know that, so I'm pushing it further. Add more blue lines near the edges, press down harder to make them more opaque. Then layer orange lines above the blue to boost the contrast. It sounds complex, but when you follow along visually, it's super easy. Now, repeat the entire texture process on the other fin. And here's a small teaching moment. Yes, too many details can overwhelm an illustration, but you can always tell when an artist took their time and was intentional. It adds a level of care that really shows in the final piece. I actually have a whole video explaining my top 5 tips for creating stronger illustrations, most of which I rarely see mentioned in other tutorials. So, you should definitely watch it. I will link it in the video description as well, because these are tips that genuinely improve your art fast. And what I love most about them is that they don't only apply to digital art. You can apply them as well into your traditional art, and I promise you can see the difference like immediately. And now it's time to boost that transparency. Select the eraser tool, choose the dotty texture brush again, and start gently erasing along the outer edges of the fins and tail. And yes, we could have used black instead of erasing, and on a black background it would have looked the same. But using the actual eraser makes those areas truly transparent, which means later on you can place your fish on a different background or in front of other objects without weird overlaps. This is super useful if you want to reuse your illustration in multiple designs. Now we're going to merge everything into one clean fish layer. Pinch the layers together in the panel and voila! Create a new layer above it and set it to multiply. This will help us paint beautiful shadows. Pick this purplish gray and test it on the multiply layer. See how it turns into a warm brownish tone. Perfect. Now, I'm gently sculpting the form, deepening shadows, softening contours, and enhancing the areas that need more definition. It might be worth mentioning that you can always use the eraser with a recycled paper brush to soften anything you painted on the multiply layer. It will blend beautifully. And now that I really took my time shading this, you can absolutely see I'm enjoying this. I will switch to red, which barely changes on multiply. And then I am going to switch to this light purplish gray, which turns so much darker on this mode, especially on top of orange. Now create a new layer and finally let's add some light. I am testing this yellow on different blend modes to see what works best because honestly you never know until you try. You can see how the color changes through the modes, and I think add mode looks perfect. Yep, add mode it will be. So I'll switch the layer to add, clear the test strokes, and start painting crisp highlights. I'll turn the multiply layer on and off here so you can see exactly how much depth it adds. And whoops, here's a small trick. If you want to merge the multiply shading layer with the base fish layer, you first need to make it a clipping mask. Only then will Procreate allow you to merge without weird blending issues. Now that the fish is merged again, let's take it to the next level. I'm adding tiny yellow and orange lines across the body. Nothing too calculated, just little hits of light that suggest texture catching the glow. These brushes are designed so that a light touch gives transparency and a firmer hand gives an opaque stroke. So play with that pressure, it's a big part of getting this look. I also decided to darken the eyes and the mouth. And now let's add some completely unnecessary highlights on the scales because sometimes unnecessary things just look good and feel good. And after that, I will enhance the highlights on the fins and tail to make everything feel cohesive. Time for sparkles! Grab the splatter brush from my free sparkle set and sprinkle a glittery texture over the fish. It's such a tiny step, but it changes the whole mood of the illustration, especially on the tail. I love this tail, it almost looks like a galaxy. I'm using light yellow for the body and baby blue around the outer edges. And to balance the piece, I will be adding a few dark brown speckles in the shadow areas too. With a recycled paper brush and a soft pink, let's add some more reflective details, cause we all love them. And remember, you can stop anytime, but I'm having way too much fun adding tiny touches. And even now, so far in the process, I think we can still improve the fins and tail. So I'll draw some more thin opaque blue lines by pressing harder with a pencil. And I think you can see now how this small gesture creates some more movement into the tail. Now back to the add layer to boost some highlights. And watch me closely and tell me in the comments what did I do wrong. It will be so obvious in a second. Can you see it now? I'm so curious. Yeah, you can You can definitely see it now. Oops, just make sure the add layer is clipped to the fish on a clipping mask so you don't worry about going outside the shapes. The fish is almost done. I will go back to the add layer and lower the opacity if the highlights feel a little bit too strong. Now, for a fun trick to make the fish look more alive. Merge the layers again and turn off the alpha lock. This is super important. Go to Adjustments and Liquify. I'm using the push setting with a big brush around 50%. Now gently push the edges in soft circular motion to give the fish a subtle natural flow. If you don't like something, tap with 2 fingers to undo, as you usually do. The drawing already looked great. This step just adds the little organic movement that makes it feel more real. Take your time on this step and just remember, tiny strokes and small decisions at a time. Time to draw bubbles. We'll make just one bubble, a perfect one, and then duplicate it. Use monoline and white to draw a clean circle, then fill it with color. To work on the transparency, I'm doing something that looks weird. I'm turning it completely black. You can't see it, but trust me, the circle is still there. Turn on the alpha lock and choose light blue with a recycled paper brush or a nail brush if you don't have it, and gently paint the edges blue. Then use black on the inside to create transparency. The logic is this: I'm only using black because the background is black. If the background were green, I'd use green. Shrink the brush and add white highlights around the edges and a couple inside the bubble. Now clean up with the eraser if needed. And you can also erase small parts of the center to make it more transparent. And your bubble is done. This is how you create a realistic textured bubble. Now, use the transform tool to resize and place the bubble wherever you want. Duplicate it to create more bubbles. If you end up with too many layers, merge the bubbles layers together. And if two bubbles overlap, erase the part that should be behind. It looks more realistic, and we talked about this logic before. And while I'm taking my time rearranging these bubbles on the screen, it might be a good time to ask you what would you like me to draw in a future tutorial. Let me know in a comment. Also, let me know the things you are struggling with in Procreate and I will try to make a tutorial to help you out. I'd love that. And just like that, we're done. This was fun. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I genuinely want to help you get better, so if you have questions or want me to explain something in more detail, leave a comment below. I'm always happy to connect with you. See you soon with another tutorial. Bye for now!